Stevo Fortenbees coming at you with a free programming Friday. So I'm working on and actually finished the first part of a strength block. It's actually strength and hypertrophy. If you see, we're taking the deload. We had just talked about our hypertrophy block right before, right? So we're doing everything beltless for a good 10 weeks, 9 to 10 weeks. So we start off with a little deload, 3x5, high bar back squat, 3x5 for our wide grip bench press, 3x5 for our deficit deadlifts, and a 3x5 for our regular comp bench press. Now, where we're going into is with this high bar back squat biz, we got a pretty light week. It's going to be a 5x5 at RP7. That means at the end of my sets, I could have done 3 reps on each one of those. Same thing with our wide grip bench press. Still pretty high volume. That's why I call it strength and hypertrophy, because we're not really just focusing on strength yet. We have plenty of time during this block to kind of go fully into, still build a little bit of work capacity for our full strength block. So we have an RPE7 with our wide grip bench press. We're going to keep our JM presses, probably RIR3, meaning reps in reserve. We want at least 3 reps in reserve for each set of our JM presses. We're no longer doing our supersets because we're focusing more on strength, but we are going to go ahead and up this a set. So we're doing a 3x15 with our single arm dumbbell rows, 3x15. And then we have barbell bicep curls and tricep extensions. And we're still going to superset those, but I'm kind of changing it from skull crushers to extensions. I had a lot of good carryover doing tricep extensions. That you're going to go a little bit farther back out, and then you're going to press straight up. You're not going to do the skull crushers. Skull crushers are good too, but this one's going to get a full stretch as you're going out and then locking back out. So it's literally going to be working the full tricep. Skull crushers do too, but you'll be able to hit all 3 muscles of the tricep a little bit better. And so we got our single arm dumbbell rows. We have our deficit deadlifts. So the only thing we're really changing is we're going from beltless to belt on. We're wanting to kind of drive strength. And this is a 5x5. With deadlift, a 5x5 is going to be kind of brutal if you start off with a large percent. That's why I still call this strength and hypertrophy. I'm probably going to start off my sets. We're doing RPE8. That means I could have done 2 more reps at the end of each set with our deficit deadlifts. So that's going to be it's not going to be too bad, but it's still going to be a pretty heavy sets of deadlift, pretty heavy day. Okay. So we have our bench press and we have a 6x5. We're going to do our RPE7. We're still going to be driving because I can handle a lot more, just like most people can handle a lot more volume when it comes to bench pressing movements, shoulders, stuff like that. They don't get fatigued as easy as the posterior chain, as our legs and things like that, hamstrings. So we're going to be kind of driving a little bit more hypertrophy work here. We are still going to keep in these JM presses. We're going 3x10 though. We're just adding sets, and we got our lateral raises. We're not doing supersets with our lateral raises because I just want to I'm going to be getting a lot of good, heavy, but still manageable bench press, and that's going to get our front delts a lot. That's going to be able to grow our front delts. That's going to be able to train us for what we call work capacity to be able to handle those heavier loads whenever they come. So, and everything's going to be about RIR3. That means each of these exercises, I want to have 3 reps in reserve at the end of each set. Just like I said in the last video, everything I'm doing is going to be straight set weight with my accessories. So here we are. We go to week 2 of our strength and hypertrophy block. I go down 1 set only because this set is going to be a maximum effort of 5 set. Remember, I told you I'm going heavy, light, medium, split. So we're going a little bit more like, okay, this is going to be our heavy day. We want it to be at least at 8.5 to where maybe you can only do one rep. You don't want to fail a rep, but say 5 is your maximum amount of reps that you could have done, and you complete the fifth one. That is that's what we're shooting towards here. We don't do that every week, but this is a week where we do it. And I have 3x5 with the 10% back off of my top set. We have our wide grip bench press. It's still 6x6. It's probably going to be more linear in fashion. RPE 7, RPE 8. So we're probably going to go up 5 to 10 pounds at most, depending on how we're feeling. So it's going to be kind of linear because my bench press can kind of do more of a linear progression rather than with my deadlift, especially. It kind of, some weeks it's really good. Some weeks I feel so tanked. So I have to pay attention to the volume and intensity relationship a little bit more with my deadlift. My squat is pretty, I would say my squat is pretty good, but I do have to alternate the intensities at times. Some Mondays I can come in, I can squat really, really well. And then other days I'm just like not feeling it as much, but it's not the same level of not feeling it as with deadlift. Because deadlift, I can go in, I can do some really crazy deadlift one week, next week, completely tanked, not able to do as much. So, with bench press, we're still probably going to progress in more of a linear fashion. We have our deficit deadlifts. We're going to probably go to an RPE 9 right here, not an RPE 7, because that's still going to be a pretty good stimulus. It's going to be pretty hard because the third week I'm going to go for a top set RPE 10, and I kind of want to build it. It will seem more linear at this moment, but say I'm just not feeling it that day. It is whatever I'm feeling for that day. So it could actually be a lower weight than what my RPE 8 day was. That's the cool thing about this particular what they call reactive training. If you don't know a lot about it, go look at Mike Tusher's videos. Go look at Mike Israel. Go check out Chad Wesley Smith at Juggernaut. All those channels explain it pretty well, better than I can. All I can say is that not every training day can you go as hard as you did last week, especially for the intermediate to advanced lifter. Not everything is linear. Even bench press is not. It's not linear. It's a lot more linear for me than it is other folks. Like my friend Opie, he can do really good one day in the bench press, right? Because he bench presses, or he's a really good bench presser for an all natty lifter, really good bench presser. But then, because he's only training twice a week, he could go in his Thursday, and I could tell, oh, he's a little bit more fatigued. He's not feeling it as well today as he did Monday. And so I've kind of noticed that with him, that's his best lift, and that's why it's not as linear. So even on those training days where it doesn't seem to be clicking as well, you didn't perform as well, this is what the RPE system is based on, because it acknowledges that not every day is going to be the greatest training session. Not every week is going to be your week. And that's also why I advocate deloads. We have our safety squat bar, and we did change our regular upright good mornings, because I usually do them with a high bar, to safety squat bar, just so that we can still get the uprightness of the back, and it's kind of gonna force us in a way to not be able to bend over all the way, but you're gonna get that range of motion that you need to complete it. Make sure that your lower back's not rounding, things like that. Nothing wrong with a round back good morning. They actually have those, but I'm kind of challenging myself because I won't be able to use as much weight with the safety squat bar. But there's not a lot of difference there. I'll be honest. There's not a lot of difference. We have leg extensions, leg curls, superset. Those are just good for hypertrophy. Really, I can go to failure on these on a regular basis. Doesn't really affect me, but we are going to want to keep it at RIR at this moment. It's going to be RIR 2. Because if we're RIR 3, we're going to go to RIR 2 just so that we're kind of progressing in load, progressing in a similar linear fashion with our accessories. We don't need to be changing undulating the periodization too much with our accessory work. I just want it to kind of be straight progression. That way I could just add 5-10 pounds to each of my accessory lifts per week. We have our bench press. Like I said, it's linear. It's almost identical to my wide grip bench press here, except it's going to be 6 sets of 5, and we're going RPE 7 to RPE 8. We're just going to go up a little in weight. More than likely, it's going to be a little bit more linear. So here we are. Ignore that little part. So now we have our high bar back squats. Since we just had our RPE 10 day, right? We're going to have an RPE 7. That means we're going to go in there and we're probably going to go at least 10 to 15% drop back just for some good straight sets of 5, to where each set I'm able to complete 3 more reps. Wide grip bench press, we're at RPE 9. You see that we're building probably more in a linear fashion, 5 to 10 pounds again. This is going to be RIR 1. So we're going to at least want to keep 1 rep in the tank, more than likely. This is where it kind of gets tricky, though, because RIR 1 and failure are so close together. If sometimes you don't know whether or not you can get 1 more rep, or if that was the last final rep that you could do. If you go to failure on this week, it's not a big deal. I would just say for the next week, you keep the same weight. Maybe you can add a rep or 2. I like to keep straight sets, especially in my strength and hypertrophy blocks. That way I just kind of know what I'm capable of. And if I have to reuse a weight, which is not a bad thing, just like I said, progression's not always linear, then I'll just keep the same weight for that week. We're doing 4x15. Right here, we're doing a 3x15 on our single arm dumbbell rows. And like I said, we're not doing skull crushers. We're going to do tricep extensions just because I want to change it up a little bit. And I have had a good carryover with my triceps with my tricep extensions. And leg press also. Leg press and GHRs on this first day, just because I don't want to do leg extensions and leg curls every single session. I kind of want to change it up. I kind of want to strengthen my posterior chain. GHRs are going to do that, and I want to strengthen. I want my quads to be strengthened in a similar fashion to squats, but not so similar where I'm having to squat 3 times a week. So we're throwing in some leg presses. This is going to be 3x10. We're going to keep the straight weights or straight sets there. And we got our ab wheels, of course, 3x15. You don't have to really go ham. I do ab work just to make sure that I'm able to be more stable, and it has helped me, especially ab wheels. They have helped me quite tremendously while I've been training. So this is going to be our RPE deadlift 10 day, right? So we're going to a top set. Our top set is going to be to failure for a set of 5. If you have, just like I've said before with the bench press and the high bar back squats, if you undershoot your RPE, it's better, but you still want it to be at least an RPE 8.5, RPE 9, something that's pretty heavy that maybe if you go for the next rep, you don't know if you could have done it or not. But we don't want to fail a lift. In strength training, it's better to get all of your volume and all of your reps rather than failing one, because failing like a deadlift or something, it can bring about immense fatigue physically and also mentally. For me, it doesn't affect me mentally. I kind of come into every training session knowing that, man, even if I fail one rep or something, I'm good. I'll be able to still do that pretty well. It doesn't really deter me, but some lifters it will. Remember, we're going RIR1 with all these accessory lifts. We still have our safety squat bar. We have our safety squat bar good mornings. And then we're going to have our bench press. It's going to be a 6x5 RPE 9. So this is going to be a pretty rough week for us bench wise, RPE 9, because we're still kind of building up our work capacity, our conditioning our muscles for heavier loads to come for our complete strength phase. Because eventually we won't be worried about too much hypertrophy. We'll be worried about displaying our strength from our muscles getting larger during this time. And I recognize that whenever I do a lot of bench press volume, like I did in my last, before I started getting on Juggernaut AI, whenever I was in my last session, I did a lot of volume, like a lot. And it just helped me out now to where when I went into a strength phase, it's been going pretty well. And this was before Juggernaut AI. Juggernaut AI has done a great job of keeping those pretty much. I have been having 6 sets of 3 or 5 sets of 3 on my bench days on a consistent basis, and I feel pretty good. I don't get winded. I don't have to take as much rest in between my bench press periods. I take 3 to 5 minutes. It's not like my squat or my deadlift where I take like probably 7 to 10 minutes per set, 5 at minimum with those, just because it expends a lot of energy doing, and bench press can too. It depends on what level of bencher you are. I have a poverty bench. I'm not going to lie to you. But if you're a high level bencher, you might have to take more rest periods yourself. So now here we are with our final week. We are doing a pretty hard week, RPE 8 to 9. It'll probably be more like RPE 8. Um, I still want this because I'm going to be doing a deload the next week. I still want this to be a pretty hard and heavy week, nothing too easy, but we don't want to go as heavy as we did in our first week with the high bar squats. We still have our close grip bench press. We have a 3x6 there. We have our JM press. These are all going to be about just straight sets. That's going to be a 3x8. Rear delt flies is going to be, we're going to go to 4 sets because your shoulders can handle a lot of volume. Uh, for me, I can handle quite a bit of shoulder volume, but I only need one because I'm benching 3 times a week, and your shoulders are going to get a lot of volume due to benching. Should you feel all the pressure on your shoulders when you're benching? No, but your shoulders are going to get a lot of growth just from you benching. You can bench 3 times a week, like I have, not have really any shoulder work, and your shoulders will be fine. They may not grow to your liking if unless you're like isolating them, but they're still going to be pretty meaty. They're still going to be something that's not going to be lacking. So we're going to do our rear delt flies at 4x15. We're still going to keep our single arm dumbbell rows at 3x15. And here we are. Remember, we're doing the tricep extensions, and we're going to do 4x20. I know, and we're still going to superset these. And I know that may seem like kind of crazy, but the truth of the matter is, it does not affect me too much supersetting. Like I can go from my tricep extensions to my or my barbell curls to my tricep extensions, pretty much no problems there whatsoever. Now we're back in it. We're going back with our deficit deadlifts. We're not going to go as hard. We're just going back to a 5x5, and we're probably going to be just like the squat, probably 10 to 15% below what we did the week before. That way, we're not going to be too tired, but we're still going to be driving some strength adaptations, and we have a deload week. So I could probably honestly have an RPE 8 here, but if you deadlift if you have a pretty high deadlift, uh, the week after you deadlift pretty heavy, that it just feels like a little different. Like your body's not capable of what it did last week with the deadlift. So go lighter because you'll want to go maybe a little bit heavy and you realize, oh dang, I can't even do close to what I did last week. That's just because you're a little bit fatigued. Deadlift takes a lot out of you, so you just chill, you take a back seat, and you just go with some regular straight sets where you're able to do 3 more reps that you're not going to ground yourself too bad. Um, Either way, you do have a deload this next week, though. And then we have our bench press. Bench press is going to be RPE 10. I am going to, it will probably be a top set more than likely. Um, but I'm still probably going to keep in the extra set just because bench tends to not, even if you fail on RP 10 top set of bench, it tends to not affect you the same way as failing on RP 10 squat or deadlift, just because of the fact that it's really involves a lot of your upper body, not too much of your lower body, even though we do have leg drive and all this other stuff. The squat and the deadlift, it puts all of your, like, it uses all your body. Like pretty much every single muscle is being used. So if you fail on one of those, I would say, or go hard on one of those, like an RPE 10, you need to drop a set just because that level of intensity for your top set is going to be, you're not going to want to, a lot of times you're not going to want to do the back offsets. You still need to, but if you drop it one, like it's going to be better that you don't keep all your straight sets for that time. So we have our bench press 6x5, and then right here, guess what? We're gonna have a easy little deload. Yes, it's gonna be a deload, and we're gonna be just chilling. There, that is a little thing. I didn't need to have that, but we're gonna have it deload. We're not gonna go probably 6x8. We're probably gonna go three. We're probably gonna go 3x6. Right up here, we're going to drop this back down to, guess what, a 3x5. And then deficit deadlifts as well, 3x5, because we want everything to be pretty chill on this week. We don't want to be doing too much craziness. Um, so that is the strength and hypertrophy block. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, this last week, you can do RIR 0. That means you can go to failure after uh, after your sets. So first 2 sets or first 3 sets, you want to start off with probably a weight that you could have done one more rep with. If you're able to do one more rep after those 2 sets, then you go to failure on your third and final set. And it should be the rep range in which you've chosen. You don't want to go to failure on every single set. That's just going to be overtaxing, overtiring. Don't do that. Take 1 set to failure, and don't do that on a regular basis. Take 1 set to failure on a set week. Like I said right here, if you happen to go to failure on this week, RIR 1 week, you go ahead and you can stick with that same weight and just see if you can get that last rep in. It's not going to hurt you when it comes to the accessory movements, more than likely. So if you guys like this, if you guys enjoyed this, go ahead, give me a subscribe, like the video, tell me your thoughts. Tell me what you liked about it. Tell me what you didn't like. I'm growing with you. I am not an expert. I am writing these programs. I've written my own programs before. I've gotten some success out of them, but I'm by no means an expert. So if you guys just hit me up, let me know what I did right. Let me know what I did wrong. Let me know how you really feel. All right, dudes. I'm out. Remember to lift, live, and learn. Love you guys. Peace.